Adishimama, Yamamunyana Joe, no Ducas boy defi UTV, ye studios are a war ship house of the Kajan won kana, ye de Sumina Casebono, a tiffin Simbi, and it's a 9 months for a Mranti be at a show so a wifidi muno. Message for Akasa at the Afahon. Nene
Minister Akasa was saying 2020 and after 2024 about to a course one Messiah is to see, you know, and they woman sa asodi pebi mu a womu eye hwehwemu kese pa ide afam
eno nkomo de bedi na nanadwi esan se sa about to a course no etututu bi course aya waso wo so gonsa mu kai a na eno so e kan obi ne bisa se we enye tete nsam no Ghana ye yaka na ehuru abadwodi bi a na se we de ombetumi to anamam ama bibia afimu aba
na nei empanifo e na afi o makwakopim e wo Northern Regional womu ne eye investors fo ahia ehwe ekwan e beboa ama mpuntuo aba ewo
Ensebi ka ho ene de bra mo midin de jakwabra mene
nana ekua kobi
ye na ye so mo na kasabo na mu nsem ni ye nyina ya ti de si ye na wotwetwa mu awie ye ebepem ne se empadinfo a oman na yi wo mo se wo mo hwe no mo nkuntia galamse om de se ye nso ni ye kwa ye omu di ye wuo tore Ghana man ase me che nan mufo no nipa bi koto so mo so wo hwedie mu a kade anka oman Ghana yanti asam de Nenu ana omode ho sobo ebo mpagifo do bi se san mpagifo no na sebedwafo wo mu nim hu bi eno enene na sebedwamu no mpagifo da to dwa chirimu se koba sensam ankrofo ka se na sebedwafo nim hu bi no se no kra ene na wo na sebedwafo ankasa ebeyi omu nua no ama se de be asotwe bi hu bia no omotimi di ama no.
So many members of parliament that are under investigation, and my office has never shielded any member of parliament, and many have volunteered themselves without coming through my office. And so please let it not be said anywhere that members of parliament are being shielded from the rule of law. Not at all. I have the copies and the list of the members involved. So while I commend this action of the member, I want to urge the Ghana Police Service to ensure that at all material times, the privileges and immunities of members, especially when the House is in session, are adhered to. It's for good reason that even if you are in the position to deal with a law enforcement officer, you cannot do that because that law enforcement officer represents the law and the country. And if you attempt to resist or even to lay hands on that officer, you are dealt with ruthlessly. So they also have privileges and immunities. So it is for members of parliament too. But this is not to shield any member from the full impact of the rule of law.
Mr. Speaker, can we, as political leaders, for once, agree to stay the partisan approach on this matter and deal with it and let our citizens know that this is a matter that affects the country and our own livelihoods. Perhaps the medical practitioners are not sharing with us the revealing reports in the various hospitals enough. So it's like business as usual. Mr. Speaker, I would wait for another day where we would discuss this matter in detail. But I would, by way of conclusion, say that the issue of Galamsey calls for action, collective.
And so this morning, he went with our majority chief whip and his lawyer. They received him at CID headquarters, took him through the processes, and I received a call not quite long ago that he has been taken to court, and as we speak, he is actually in court being arraigned. And so let me also indicate that as members of Parliament, we do not consider ourselves being above the law, that we are always ready to be held accountable for our actions and inactions.
Ashafo Bekaya 2020 and afi 2024 abatwa yekoto ya mente me ho ase ebi esi ye nam so ema nipa 15 efa so ehwere wo mo nkwa na afi emu 14 so eprepra ye no eno nam so amenei interior minister akasa Muntaka Mohammed Mubarak o say wo mo eye nhwehwemu bi no enei wo mo kọ AG aso ya wo manya cases be 12 na ye kasa idie womu edi hu dwuma na wo bibiara ne hu bon mu no womu de negina emra no ano.
On January 16, 2025, the Inspector General of Police inaugurated a special task force within the Criminal Investigation Department CID of the Ghana Police Service. The mandate of the task force was to collaborate with the stakeholders to identify, review and investigate all electoral violent cases that resulted in fatalities during the 2020 and 2024 general election. The Special Investigation Task Force identified 12 cases that took place during the 2020 and 2024 general election. These cases had resulted in 15 deaths across the country, and well over 40 individuals got injured. The report outlined detailed account of all the 12 cases recorded during the period. The detailed report, which has been submitted to His Excellency the President, also contains the various incidents, how they were brought or got to the notice of the police, and actions taken by investigators in line with the laid down investigation protocol and procedure. The report further detailed action taken when the Special Investigative Task Force took over the cases at level initially investigators had reached, and detailed findings derived from further interviews, interrogations, field visit, reconstruction of crime and crime scene, and forensic analysis of various materials of evidence retrieved during the investigation. Every violent incident recorded during the general election presents various criminal offenses which will have been committed by different persons involved. The report took into account a number of incidents where some procedural actions were overlooked. There were instances of clear breaches of discipline, violation of legal requirement, and total neglect by officers who were either present or responsible for situations that required prompt, responsive actions. The focus is to avoid veering into areas that might confuse procedural breaches with the main mandate, which is to investigate, identify, and prosecute persons responsible for death during the two general elections in the years of the 2020 and 2024. Through careful review of police dockets, on-site inspections, and stakeholders interview, the Special Investigative Task Force identified 12 specific cases. I must be quick to add that I have since directed that the report of the Commission on the Election Violence at Ayawaso West Wagon be implemented fully for justice to prevail. 6 each from the 2020 and the 2024 general election, which collectively led to 15 deaths as mentioned earlier and injured 40 others. These incidents span multiple regions, including Bono East, Greater Accra region, Bono region, Northern region, Central region, Savannah, and Asante region.
For our share, important mamu and afe nananom ahini ene osumu ensam sunyafo Ahmed Ibrahim Datujwa echirim se aban no hyehyɛ a wose 24-hour economy wode eba no edwa hodo a mu ba besi no no eba bebo ma dwadi etumi akoso o me ahodo nyina no aban krachefo ene manta so afo na betu ho anamon ahwe so se ne be betumi aboa ama 24-hour economy no etumi ayi adwuma awo me ahodo tetesa.
The local economic development policy reinforces your responsibility to lead the implementation of initiatives like the 24-hour economy market. You are therefore expected to do the following. 1. Identify and designate local economic zones for 24-hour economy market operations. 2. Facilitate permit and regulatory support for nighttime commerce. 3. Ensure security, lighting, and sanitation in market areas. 4. Judicious application of the 25% allocation from the District Assembly Common Fund market as directed by Cabinet and presented to you by my good self. Align your medium-term development plan with the National 24-Hour Economy Agenda to attract central government and private sector investment. The implementation of this initiative is not a pilot. It is not a trial. This is a national rollout, and your leadership will determine the success of this. To the honorable regional ministers, whom I always refer to as colleague ministers, to the honorable regional ministers, your leadership is critical in the successful implementation of the 24-hour model market, as stipulated in Section 202 of the Local Governance Act 936. You are, on behalf of His Excellency the President, responsible for the following. 1. The supervision of the work of the district chief executives in your regions. 2. Monitoring and evaluating the work of the district chief executives in your jurisdictional areas. To ensure coordination, standardization, and timely execution of flagship projects. And let me lay the emphasis here. This is not going to be like the E-blocks. Neither is it going to be like the Agenda 111. This is a timeless government flagship project. 24-hour economy market is time-bound. When you are working with the clock will not wait for you. Time will not wait for you. This is the only flagship program which is named after time. 24-hour economy market. So when you lose 1 second, Ghana will go and leave you and your district behind. When you leave 1 hour, Ghana will go and leave you and your constituency behind. When you forget 2 hours, I'm going to do this. No more excuses. This is a time-bound flagship program. President Mama must commission all before we go into 2028 elections. No more theories, no more stories.
Northern Region Caucus NNA Womuni investors Asia na womu to adwene ekwan ya ombefa so a impuntu a womu hia e wo Northern Region no abemu e de ama womu.
In the last parliament, when I was invited to the High Commission, and the High Commission expressed surprise that as Northern members of Parliament, we hadn't organized ourselves into a caucus so that we could press home the needed support, demand for the needed support for the North as a bloc. So I made a personal pledge to Paul Edward that after the elections, I will make efforts to have a well-functioning Northern caucus, work the majority leader. And so once I assumed office, I made the DPs that after we inaugurated the caucus here in Parliament, we agreed among ourselves to convene a meeting of the DPs and the members of the Northern Caucus for the purposes of being briefed by the DPs on how they could work with us to improve the situation in the North, and how we as members of Parliament can position ourselves to take advantage of the work that they our people in that part of the country. Imports about $4 billion worth of food, very high relative to sometimes even our neighbor Burkina Faso and other African countries. And the differences are even more stark when you compare to food prices in Europe, food prices in China, food prices in places like Vietnam and the US. And yet, the northern part of this country has huge, vast expanse of arable land.
Adeshima ebe try ho sima na ya ba ye ba eja kwabna ene na pamfo betena na nkomo bi e wo ho no omo e de abrem ye kwaba sisi